I never planned on buying a lake, but when the HOA pushed me too far, that's exactly what I did. See, when I first moved into Millstone Ridge, I wasn't trying to make waves. I just wanted a quiet life, something close to nature, maybe take my kayak out after work and grill on the weekends. The neighborhood looked picture-perfect: tree-lined streets, friendly-looking houses, and a sparkling lake that wrapped around the back edge of the community. It felt peaceful. Safe. But you know how sometimes something looks great on the outside until you get a peek behind the curtain? That was Millstone Ridge. And the curtain was the HOA. They came at me fast. Within 2 weeks of moving in, I got my first warning. Apparently, my trash can was visible from the road for more than 45 minutes. Next came a fine for a non-compliant mailbox, even though it was the same model as 3 of my neighbors. Then I got written up for having unauthorized lawn decor. It was a bird feeder. A damn bird feeder. At the center of it all was this guy named Harold Kramer, HOA president, retired dentist, professional busybody. The man took pleasure in enforcing the rules like he was running a gated kingdom. He made it clear during our first chat that everything in Millstone Ridge ran through him. Especially access to the lake. Now, that lake was the crown jewel of the community. People bought homes here just to use it. The HOA made it very clear that if your dues weren't paid on time or if you broke the rules too many times, your lake privileges were revoked. That included dock use, boat access, even setting foot on the path around it. So, naturally, I got curious. I went online, looked up the property map and pulled records through the county's GIS system. And here's where things got interesting. Turns out, the HOA didn't own the lake. Not legally. The land around it, sure, but the water itself. The dock. The ramp. The access path. It was private property. And the owner. Some holding company out of state that clearly hadn't kept up with it. Tax records showed they hadn't paid on it in over 3 years. A lien had been placed. It was quietly being put up for auction. And just like that, an idea was born. I made a few calls, pulled some strings. The sale wasn't listed on public sites yet, but it was real. I drove to the county courthouse that Friday with a cashier's check, signed the paperwork, and walked out the legal owner of Lake Marybelle. Yep. I bought the whole thing for less than the price of a new SUV. For a week, I didn't tell a soul. I just watched. Waited. Then I posted a sign by the old dock, private property access by written permission only. It was subtle, almost polite. But I knew it would hit like a bomb. 2 days later, Harold was pounding on my door, red in the face, waving a clipboard like it was a sword. "You can't restrict lake access," he shouted before I even said hello. "That dock is part of the Millstone Ridge community." I smiled. "Actually, it's part of Parcel 46-382B, which I now own. You can check with the county." He sputtered, went pale, and left in a huff. The next morning, an emergency HOA meeting was announced. Over the next week, the HOA board tried everything. They claimed the sale was invalid. Said they had historical easement rights, which was laughable. Their lawyer sent me a cease and desist that sounded impressive until my attorney replied with a copy of the deed, the lien satisfaction, and a reminder that the HOA had never owned the lake or held legal access to it. Then came the begging. By week 3, Harold was back at my door, this time with a softer tone and a checkbook. "Maybe we can reach some kind of licensing agreement," he offered, trying to smile like we were old friends. "Sure," I said. $25,000 a year. Flat fee. Access limited to residents in good standing. No exceptions. He laughed until he realized I wasn't joking. Then he left again, furious. Meanwhile, things in the neighborhood started to shift. Some residents were angry, mostly the ones who'd been part of the HOA board's inner circle. But others, they started reaching out to me, thanking me, telling me how tired they were of the rules, the fines, the intimidation. One older couple even slipped a bottle of whiskey into my mailbox with a note that said, "Thanks for putting that smug bastard in his place." And while the HOA debated, argued, and threatened, the lake sat untouched. The grass grew tall at the launch ramp. The dock creaked in the wind. For the first time in years, the lake was quiet. After a month of silence, the HOA caved. They signed the licensing deal, paid the first year up front. They had no choice. They'd advertised lake access in every brochure, every home sale. Without it, the property values would tank. But I wasn't done yet. Because while all this was happening, I'd been talking to neighbors, gathering stories. Turns out, Harold and his board had been skimming off the top of improvement funds for years, hiring their cousins' landscaping companies, approving emergency repairs, with no documentation. I took the evidence to the county. An investigation was opened. Harold stepped down a week later, citing health reasons. Funny how quickly his health declined when he realized the jig was up. Now, here's my favorite part. A few weeks back, I was out on my porch, drinking coffee, watching the sunrise over the water. That same dock, the one Harold used to treat like his personal kingdom, was quiet until I saw someone walking toward it. It was his wife, Kay, wearing her yoga pants, holding her paddleboard under one arm. She saw me, paused at the edge of the ramp. Then, with this tight little smile, she called out, "Good morning. Mind if I lunch from here today?" I just raised my coffee mug and said, "As long as the check cleared." She laughed kind of and walked on. Now, some folks say I was being petty. That I didn't have to go that far. Maybe. But I didn't do this out of spite. I did it because people like Harold think they can bully everyone else forever, that nobody will stand up. That the rules only apply to the rest of us. And sometimes, the only way to beat people like that is to play their game better than they do. So, what do you think? Was I wrong to buy the lake? Or did I just finally give them a taste of their own medicine? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and tell me, when the system stacked against you, is revenge still wrong when it comes dressed as justice? I never planned on buying a lake, but when the HOA pushed me too far, that's exactly what I did. See, when I first moved into Millstone Ridge, I wasn't trying to make waves. I just wanted a quiet life, something close to nature, maybe take my kayak out after work and grill on the weekends. The neighborhood looked picture-perfect: tree-lined streets, friendly-looking houses, and a sparkling lake that wrapped around the back edge of the community.